Hello, I'm Joyce Sherrock Cole, Ossining Village historian and board member of Bethany Arts Community. Today we are in the performance space at Bethany Arts Community with the incomparable Ted Daniel. Thank you for coming and sharing your talent with us today, Ted.
My pleasure.
Could you tell us something about yourself and just introduce yourself to everyone that doesn't know already who you are?
All right, well, I'm an Ossining native. I was born and raised here. Graduated high school in '61. Started playing music here in the grade school in what was the Lincoln School as elementary school. And I just never stopped playing the horn, that's all.
Okay. So you grew up here. When did your family get here?
My parents must have came here around, I'd say 1933. They came in from, well, they're originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and they moved to New York, to the city. And then from the city, they came up here around 33, 34, something like that.
I think during that Great Migration is when a lot of our families came up. Speaking of that, you already know my family, the Chirac family.
Yes.
So you played with my cousin. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Sonny Chirac, and playing with him?
Yes. Sonny and Wayne and my brother, my older brother Richard, we all grew up together. My mother and Sonny's mother were good friends. So Sonny was the oldest, then it was my brother, then it was Wayne, then it was me. I was the last, the youngest of that particular group, right? So we grew up together from the cradle on up. So that's, earlier on as teenagers, my brother and Sonny had a singing group. They were doo-wops. So that's originally how we came together musically. I wasn't a doo-wopper, but they were. And so later on in high school, about my last year in high school, junior year, something like that, I had really gotten involved in jazz. And Sonny, who was about 3 years older than me, around that time, he was getting into it also. And he started with the guitar. So we put together a little group. We started trying to play. At that time, that would have been in the early 60s, say 61, 62, 60. There was not a lot of music in town in terms of jazz, and nobody knew anything about that. We were like little outlaws in town trying to play some music that nobody knew anything about. And so, but that's how it started. We started together there, and then we went to Berklee School of Music in Boston, and I spent some time there. And then I went out to Southern Illinois University for a couple of years. That was in 63, 65. I came to New York. Sonny and I moved to the East Village and started our jazz careers, such as it was.
So you are the Ossining trailblazers in this genre of music.
Yeah, we were the first, for sure.
You paved the way for all of the young musicians, even the rappers. When I did the hip hop yesterday, they mentioned you guys, and it's fantastic to see how your legacy is still carrying on today. So you didn't have formal training when you started, but you said you went off to school.
Yeah, that was an issue with me personally. I didn't really get private lessons, until I was like maybe 20 when I went out to Southern Illinois in '63. I was very disappointed that I couldn't get lessons in town here because it was like, well, the music teacher said he didn't give private lessons, so I just didn't have any. I just kind of did it myself, whatever. It was a good experience in high school in terms of the music that I learned there, but it wasn't, of course, it wasn't jazz. But in terms of private instruction, I didn't get that until much later, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm. So how did you guys pick it up to know that did you hear it somewhere on the radio and try to emulate it?
Yeah, you hear it. Well, we used to listen to the radio. Symphony Sid had a jazz program on the radio. And then you buy the records, you get caught up in it, you want to play like that, and that's how you learn. It's an oral thing, so you listen and you try to imitate. And the more you learn, of course, then you can grow on your own and develop your own style, so to speak. But mostly listening to records and talking to one another and encouraging one another and playing together.
it sounds, your performance sounds very personal. When I'm listening to it, I feel like I've had an intimate moment in your mind of how you curated that selection that we're hearing. So can you talk a little bit about how you come up with your pieces for performances?
Okay, those were original pieces, okay? And the first one, the first tune I played when I sat down was Ida's song, and that was for Ida B. Wells. She was born in 1862. I forget which state. It might have been Mississippi or Tennessee. But anyway, she was a staunch fighter against lynching, and she was a journalist. And so that tune was for her, Ida's song. Second song was for Martin Luther King, and that was The Choice. And it came to me after reading his speech that he did at the church down, I can't remember the name of the church down in the city, and he gave a big speech, and it was about after Vietnam, where do we go? And there's just so many issues that we have, and we continue to have, that the choice was just a big word. You know, I mean, where do you go from here? What problem do you attempt to solve now? You know, so that was for him. And then the last one that I played on the trumpet was the guided one, and that was for Malcolm X. That was a thing for Malcolm. So they're original tunes, and you know, I just play them ad lib like I do at home. And people, you know, it's just like how I practice at home.
You never told me what you were playing, and I felt that Ida's song, and in reflecting on Black History Month, I really felt that. That's why I felt it was so intimate, and especially being a historian and spending a lot of time in the 1800s. Sometimes I forget I'm in 2000 and something because I spent so much time in the past.
Yes, yeah, I hear you.
But
yeah.
it felt very connected to our people and the struggle. And I thank you for your service, because you are one of our veterans, correct?
Yes.
And it was Vietnam that you did, and you did a piece for that as well. Did you reflect on your time serving when you curated that piece?
I'm not sure that I recorded with a guy who did a piece on Vietnam, Billy Bang, a violinist, and it was all Vietnam vets on that record, and that was a very emotional and rewarding record date, because we all knew what we were playing.
Absolutely.
The feelings that we were playing. Everybody
Yes.
had that. We knew what was happening. And so that was one of the, well, it was a very good experience, yeah.
I think it's a testament to the power that you have as such a wonderful musician, that you were able to pass that feeling on, because, like, as I said, I felt very emotional when I was listening to these pieces. Just spectacular.
Yeah, they're very personal. I mean, and one of the things is when you're playing by yourself, it's just you and the emotion, in terms of my instrument, a piece of metal and flesh and that vibration. And so it's just very organic and natural, and
Yes. Can you tell us about your partners today?
my boys.
Yes.
Okay, well, this Longhorn is a present from a friend, a pianist who had gone to Morocco, and he picked that up. It's in, I call it a Moroccan bugle. I've heard it was called a kakai, but I just call it Moroccan bugle. And it's just, they play them in Hocket, By that I mean different sizes, and they play them together. About four horns, doing it different and playing rhythms. So of course I have the biggest one, I think, and so it's not many tones that you can get out of it, but it's a very warm sound, and I like to play it. I like to do that.
It feels very earthy.
Yeah.
The Moroccan sound, yes.
I played it as the first thing I played this afternoon because sort of like welcome, come on in.
Right.
Let's get these earth tones together.
That's right. Get us grounded in and ready to take the ride, right?
Yeah, come on, here we go now.
Yes.
And so this here horn, this is I picked this up in Dayton, Ohio, in a music shop. It originally had a strap on it. It's a hunting horn, a French hunting horn. And as you can see, it has no vowels. So you only can make sounds, you only can play the overtone series. But when I use my hand, that gives me more tones. It breaks the overtone series, and so I can get more different
I was just about to ask that. I saw you using a lot your hand in and out, making the noise.
That's so I can get a scale. So
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful.
So that's in, I just like to play this because it has such a warm, beautiful, bluesy sound to it, and I just play that. The tune that I played on this was called The Call, and this brings us back to Ossining and myself as a child, and it's it's just like 3 notes, boo-dee-be-doo. And that's a whistle that my father used to whistle for my brother and I when we'd be out playing. And that was the call. So that's what I based this off, the tune off of that.
Was that the street light call? It's time to come in?
Yeah, it's time to come in. When you hear that, you better hit it.
You gotta hit it.
Yeah. You know, and so
Don't let
that's
the moonlight
what that
hit you. Yeah, yeah.
So that's the first tune I learned. Know how to come home when you call.
So Ossining, home means a lot to you.
Yeah.
So you went away and you came back, and I like to talk to people about that.
Okay.
What was coming back home? Why did you choose? Because you could have went anywhere. Why did you choose to come back home?
Yeah, well, you know how time ticks and so forth. I came back because my mother had died.
Sorry.
And my father was here and had come back because they had moved up to the vineyard, but when they got sick, they came back. And so I was the only one who was free at the time. I was in between marriages, so to speak. And so I was free, able to move at that time. I was able to move. So I came back and took care of my father, and then eventually he moved up to Buffalo with my other brother. But that's how I got back here, because I came back to be in the house with my father. Yeah.
And what street did you grow up on?
Ann Street, 17 Ann Street.
Okay, that's a big house was it on the hill?
Yeah, it's on top of the hill.
Right. So when in my research, when I'm tracing all the Black families trying to get the exhibit together, I found that so many of us lived on Ann Street and Hunter Street and Secor Road, and I see so many old family names, Jenkins and Chirac and Smith, and everyone is on these streets, and the families are so entangled with each other.
Yeah. Right.
So it's beautiful that you came home, and you explained a little bit about coming home and being here. And what else does it mean? Did your kids grow up here?
I had 2 boys who went to school here, who grew up here and went to school. Yeah.
Okay, great. So it's
my older daughter was gone.
She left.
Yeah.
Just the sharing of your talent is just beautiful. What does it mean for the younger generation to see and hear your music and appreciate it and kind of carry that legacy on?
You know, I don't know that they hear it or that they hear enough of it. You know, I was surprised that you said earlier that some of the younger rappers had mentioned the people that came before, like myself and Sonny, I guess, and that really felt good because I didn't know that they knew of us. You know what I mean?
They did.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So that was good.
Yeah, they. It's amazing that you guys were the trailblazers in the genre when all you were trying to do was figure it out. Correct?
Yeah.
So what was it like what was the first instrument you got?
It was a trumpet. When I was a young fellow, about 10 years old, my father came home with a trumpet and said, "You can play the trumpet."
Okay.
And so it was beautiful. It was in a red case, and inside was red, and trumpet was shiny and brand new and so forth. And I, went down to Lincoln School, and I was scared to go into the music class to the instructor, but I finally went in there, and then, learned a note or two, and then just kept going with it. The truth is, I used to play. My father would tell me I had to practice, and I was into sports a lot, so I didn't really want to practice. But whenever I would go and practice, it would be so. I would love it. I would love it, hearing the sound of the horn and just playing. So it was just something that attracted me. I just didn't want to put it down.
It sounds like fate. It sounds like it sounds like this was what you were supposed to do this. This was in you.
Yeah, and I just never stopped playing it. I just kept, it was always something else I wanted to do with it,
Okay.
And so. Yeah.
So the 3 instruments you have here, they look obviously like it's much different to play them. How did you figure it out?
Well, first of all, they're all brass instruments or wind instruments, to put it that way, brass wind instruments. So they're similar in how you play them, how you produce sound. With the trumpet, you have these valves that you have to make your scales with, you know. But it's the same process of blowing the horn as with the French hunting horn, which doesn't have any valves. It's still the same way that you produce the vibration that the horn vibrates and makes the note. It's the same thing. So it's just a matter of learning scales, you know.
So I noticed at the end of each piece, you kind of have this exhale out into, it's almost like you're putting a period on the end of that, the phrase or the whole composition. And it's almost beautiful. It's like we're getting taken up in a balloon and then we kind of settle. It really is quite beautiful because it's like that period on the end where you know you just completed that thought. Is that what it means, or what does it mean?
Yeah, it means that. It means I'm finished. It means you know, to exhale. You know, we're letting go. Let it go.
Okay.
But it also is I'm trying to tell you, like when I first started and I was playing the bell with my hand.
Yes.
I wanted you to hear the metal. I wanted you to hear the timbre of the metal. And then I hit a note that was similar to that. Right. So I'm just trying to get people to see that here's a piece of metal, and here's a human being with flesh, and here we're going to, and somehow or another, we make some sounds that are pleasing or displeasing, whatever they are.
That's very, very pleasing.
You know? And so the air was a part of that, finishing that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It felt like a journey, like you said, the hitting. Then you take us on the long phrases in between, and then that breath at the end just puts that period on it. And I felt like I went with your emotions the whole time. It's just beautifully crafted. So even someone that's not familiar with wind instruments or playing instruments, I feel like I know it. And that's beautiful to go on that ride for something you don't understand and someone to give you an appreciation for their love. And you feel that. It's incredible. So thank you for that.
Well, that's the point. If I'm not doing that, I'm not doing my job.
That's right. That's right. So is there anything else you would like to share with us about your passion or your talent?
No, I just you know, really just love to play music, and I'm hoping that younger people will continue to be creative and play music in whatever form they want, and that it be refreshing and helpful to the community.
Yes. So I didn't ask, but how many years have you been at this?
Well, you shouldn't have asked.
Without telling your age, because...
Well, no, it's okay. I'm approaching my 78th year in a couple of months. And I've been playing since I was 10 years old. So I've been playing it all my life, you know, 68 years, you know, there you go.
It just comes out so natural. You make it look very easy, and I know it's not.
It's not. It gets harder. It gets harder as you go.
Yeah, but I think the geniuses at their craft make it look easy. And I know if I pick that up, it will just be sitting in my hand because I wouldn't know how to approach it. But it's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I made friends with them. You know.
Yes, it's your partner. Yeah, it becomes your partner.
Yeah.
And I can't express enough, and especially when you said about children, being exposed to different genres and understanding the connection between the different things, even like the rappers that said, you know, your generation, and they said your names, influenced them in rapping because they were spoken word first and they were in the church, and all of the sounds that they were hearing influenced what they were rapping about. I think it's beautiful, and I think sometimes as a community we lose that we all needed each other to kind of get where we are, and we're influenced by our community and our elders and the people that have come before us. So I thank you very much for your talent. I thank you for sharing it, making yourself vulnerable to us through your craft, and just spending an afternoon with us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Glad to do it.